Good morning, 1776ers. Today we are going to begin to talk about the War of 1812. Now, most of the early battles in the war took place in the West and in the South. All right, so that is where our focus is generally going to lie today. However, the number one thing we should really talk about is why? Why did we go to war with the British? Well, for one reason is the British were attacking our merchant ships and impressing our sailors. All right, we talked about how they had taken over 1,000 American ships. They had impressed over 6,000 American sailors, and they were forcing them to fight in the British Navy. Another reason, the British had armed Native Americans in the West to fight American settlers that were going out there. So we had talked about the Battle of Fallen Timbers, where they found British guns after the battle. We had talked about the Battle of Tippecanoe. Again, they found British guns out west. All right, so we were getting pretty fed up with this. And finally, the big one, national pride. All right, we were not going to be bullied by the British any longer. All right, we had made treaties with them. If you guys remember the Jay Treaty, that was supposed to end all of this, but the British completely disregarded it, and now we were no longer going to deal with it. So what did we do? We declared war on Great Britain. Fourth President James Madison, yes, that same James Madison who was the father of the Constitution, wrote the Bill of Rights. Well, now he wrote a letter to Congress laying out the reasons for the U.S. to go to war with Britain. Congress declared war on Britain on July 17, 1812. Now, this was a really bold move. All right, due to Jefferson's spending cuts, the U.S. only had 7,000 poorly trained soldiers and 16 warships. That's right, 16. Oh yeah, and Britain was the superpower of the world. All right, so we decided to declare war on them. Interesting thought. The British immediately set up blockades around American ports. And by 1814, 135 British warships with troop support were able to close off all of the American ports, so we could not get any exports out or imports in. Old Ironsides. So one of the big early battles, all right, had to do with the USS Constitution. This was in August of 1812. The USS Constitution defeated the British warship Erie in one of the most famous sea battles of the War of 1812, and that is a picture of the Constitution today. Yes, it is still in existence. The Constitution was nicknamed Old Ironsides because British cannonballs bounced harmlessly off the reinforced wooden hull of the ship. Today, the USS Constitution is the oldest commissioned warship, which means it is still considered in use by the United States Navy. It is moored in Boston, Massachusetts in the Charlestown section. If you come to my Zoom today, we will actually be trying to go on a guided tour, virtual tour, we won't be going up to Boston today, of the warship. Canada. In the West, the U.S. and Britain fought for control of the Great Lakes and Mississippi River. Even before the war began, many people, including war hawks, wanted the U.S. to invade and take Canada for a couple of reasons. Obviously, A, land, big thing to get. B, we wanted to get Britain out of North America. All right, so that would be a major part of that. Again, war hawks, even though it's in your vocab, were people, mostly Republicans, that encouraged war with Britain. Former President Jefferson was actually quoted as saying, "The acquisition of Canada this year will be a mere matter of marching." He was extremely confident, and he wasn't the only one, that simply just by American soldiers showing up to Canada, Canada was going to fall to the U.S. Was he right? In July 1812, General William Hull invaded Canada from Fort Detroit. And yes, Fort Detroit would become present-day city of Detroit. Fearing that he did not have enough soldiers, he retreated back to Fort Detroit. Big mistake. British General Isaac Brock surrounded the fort with British soldiers and Native Americans. Eventually, Hull surrendered Fort Detroit, and 2,000 American soldiers were captured. This was a huge blow to American morale. And there you see Jefferson up there. He has his hands over his face because he just thought we'd just show up in Canada and take it. Oh, Thomas. Lake Erie. The U.S. had better luck on Lake Erie. A major naval battle took place in the western part of the lake in 1813. At Put-in Bay, the American flagship, this is the ship that carries the commanding admiral, was badly damaged. American Commander Oliver Hazard Perry switched to another ship and continued to fight and won. The U.S. had won the Battle of Lake Erie. Perry sent a famous message to General William Henry Harrison. Yes, the same William Henry Harrison that we talked about at the Battle of Tippecanoe, the same William Henry Harrison that is going to eventually become the 9th President of the United States, which read, "We've met the enemy and they are ours." All right, these were major words in American history. Very famous saying. Perry is also well known for his famous battle flag. All right, and this is the flag that flew above his ship, and it said, "Don't give up the ship." This flag still exists at the U.S. Naval Academy and Bancroft Hall, located in Annapolis, Maryland. So if you ever go visit it, which I strongly suggest, beautiful, you can actually see this battle flag from the War of 1812. The Battle of Thames. By taking control of Lake Erie, the U.S., led by William Henry Harrison, eventually drove the British out of Fort Detroit and back to Canada. But Harrison was not done. Harrison decided to pursue the British and Native Americans as they retreated. He followed the British into Canada and defeated them at a battle called the Battle of Thames. Now, the reason why this battle was significant was because one of the major Native American leaders was killed during this battle. Tecumseh was among those that was killed. Remember, we talked about him last week. He was the Native American who was trying to unite all the Native American tribes. Meanwhile, in the South, Native Americans were also suffering defeat. Creek warriors attacked several Southern American settlements. Andrew Jackson, remember that name because we'll be talking about him a lot over the next couple of weeks, took command of American forces in Georgia. By March 1814, Jackson defeated the Creeks at the Battle of Horseshoe Bend. The treaty that ended the fighting forced the Creeks to give up millions of acres of land. And that is where we are going to stop for today. Now, you had guided notes to go along with this. I know I went pretty quickly, so replay this, take your time, pause, and make sure you fill out the guided notes to go along with this. And unlike last time, this time you will need to hand in those guided notes. So I will be looking for those guided notes. All right, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you soon.